Hello, true crime friends. Welcome back to From the Dark Side. I'm your host, Sherry. Today we've got a case from 2019. A 57-year-old former Arkansas senator was found stabbed at her home in Pocahontas, Arkansas. At first they thought this may have been a random intruder or something along those lines, but they could have never guessed who the real killer was. This case is solved. This is episode 163. The case of Linda Collins. We're going back to 2019. Billie Eilish became the youngest artist ever nominated for a Grammy in all top 4 categories. She was just 17. Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper were making headlines everywhere for their performance in A Star is Born. The Child, aka Baby Yoda, made his debut on The Mandalorian. A photo of an egg became the most liked photo on Instagram. Today it has 70 million likes. And in weird news from 2019, people working at the National Weather Service in San Diego, California, were puzzled by a strange shape on their radar screens. The unusual cloud turned out to be a massive swarm of ladybugs. Linda Collins was born April 17, 1962, in rural Pocahontas, which is a small town in Randolph County, Arkansas. It currently has about 7,600 residents. It's so funny because this town is so small and extremely rural. It's around a 16-hour drive from my house. But I happen to know someone who lives in this tiny little town. She's a good friend of mine who means a whole lot to me. Anyway, shout out to Pocahontas, Arkansas. Linda grew up in a very poor family that struggled. Linda didn't have running water until she was a teenager, but this helped shape the person that she wanted to become later in life. She wanted to grow up and make something of herself. She wanted to have a nice home that she could turn the faucet on and water would come out, and that's just what she did. Linda has 2 children with her first husband, a son named Butch and a daughter named Tate. They divorced and Linda remarried a man named Philip Smith in 1995. Linda got involved in politics. As a disclaimer, you guys know I try to steer around politics as best as I can on here. You all have politics shoved in your faces every single time you open your social media apps, conversations with friends, family, coworkers. It's everywhere. So your pal Sherry vows not to talk politics on this show. But I need to briefly summarize Linda's career in politics to give you a better understanding of her background. I'm not trying to sway you into liking or disliking her. I know politics can be a touchy subject. Linda Collins was killed in cold blood, so regardless of how anyone, including myself, feels about her politics, at the end of the day, Linda Collins is still a murder victim. Linda is a far right-wing Republican. Her Facebook bio reads, "Conservative, God, family, veterans, guns, patriot, and country." But she wasn't always a Republican. She started her career as a Democrat, and in 2011, she switched parties, which came as a complete shock to a lot of people. Her political career officially kicked off in 2010 when she ran for a seat in the Arkansas House of Representatives. At the time, she was a Democrat running in District 80, which covered parts of northeastern Arkansas. She won and began serving her term in 2011, but pretty quickly it became clear that Linda didn't fit in with the Democrats. She was the most conservative Democrat anyone could find. Just 8 months into her term in August 2011, she made the move. Linda announced that she was leaving the Democratic Party and joining the Republicans. She said the Democratic Party had moved too far to the left and no longer represented her values, especially when it came to faith, family, and government. That was her reasoning. A lot of folks called her a traitor, but she announced the following. "I am the same person I was when the people of Randolph County selected me. I have not left the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party left me. And I believe it has left the majority of the good, freedom-loving people of Arkansas behind." During her time in the House, Linda served on several committees, including Revenue and Taxation, Local Affairs, and Energy. She boasted about her humble beginnings and how she could relate to working-class families. After one term in the House, Linda ran for a seat in the Arkansas State Senate in 2012. She lost that first Senate race, but 2 years later, in 2014, she ran again and won, securing a spot in the Senate. She focused on issues like gun rights, religious freedom, tax reform, and what she called protecting the family. She also wanted to restrict abortion access and boasted that she was pro-life. She was only 5 foot tall, but her nickname in her circle was linebacker because she wouldn't back down. Linda was a lifetime member of the National Rifle Association, or NRA, so gun rights were a big part of her political career. One of her proposals, the True Campus Carry Act, would have allowed students with a concealed carry permit to carry firearms on college campuses without additional training or restrictions. However, it didn't make it into a law. She was very active, vocal, and ready to challenge anyone, even members of her own party, if she felt they were straying from conservative principles. In 2018, she ran again, and this time she lost a really close race to an up-and-coming Republican, James Sturch. He was 28 years old, and residents in Arkansas just loved him. Even the governor of Arkansas endorsed him. He ended up beating Linda by around 500 votes. This was the end of her formal political career. Still, she remained involved in conservative circles, and many believe she might eventually run again. This is a really awful time in Linda's life because she's also going through a divorce with her husband of 20 years. Her husband's name is Philip Smith. Phil is a judge at the Third Circuit of Arkansas. Governor Mike Huckabee appointed him back in 2001. Before this, he spent 9 years as a municipal judge for the town of Pocahontas and Randolph County. If you got arrested in Pocahontas, Arkansas, chances are you've sat before the Honorable Phil Smith. There's a lot of tension currently between Linda and Phil, and they are going through a divorce, and they had a lot of assets, somewhere around $2 million. They owned 2 motels, and Linda ran both of them. Anytime there's high stakes like that, things are going to be messy. Friends say that Linda was scared of Phil, that he was abusive to her, and there was a possibility he may have allegedly tried to poison her with mercury years before. Apparently, she was really sick and went to the hospital, and there was tests done that showed high levels of mercury in her system. However, Phil denies he has anything to do with this, and there isn't any evidence to back it up. It's been brought up that Linda ate a lot of fish and drank a lot of cans of Diet Coke. Both of those could have contributed to the mercury consumption. But Linda is quietly feeling like Phil is poisoning her. Phil denies ever treating Linda badly. So they're going through this divorce, plus Linda lost the Senate race, and Phil's career took a dive. There's a whole lot going on in their lives at the moment. According to reporting by Arkansas's NEO report, Judge Phil Smith resigned as a circuit court judge on December 31st, 2017, after a complaint alleged that he had used his business-assigned laptop. This is his actual judge's laptop. It alleged he had been using it after hours for extrajudicial activities. A letter of reprimand was issued against Judge Phil, who agreed to step down. Linda brought this up during her divorce hearing. So we don't know what he was doing on his work laptop after hours in his judge's chambers. It's been speculated that he was watching Pornhub, which is a totally okay thing to do as an adult, but don't be doing it on your government-assigned laptop. I feel weird checking the weather on my work PC. So Judge Phil is not a judge anymore, but he can live comfortably with all his assets. More was awarded to Phil than Linda. Phil ended up getting most of their money and assets. Phil, being a judge, I'm sure had the very best attorney, and he was smart. He knew exactly what to say in court. Also, it didn't help that the divorce judge accused Linda of being dishonest with her spending. But Linda is moving on. She's dating again. Just weeks before her death, she began dating a man named Randall Wallace. She seemed to be doing okay. She's having her home in Pocahontas completely renovated, like top to bottom. There's walls knocked out, the flooring's pulled up. It's a complete mess in there. But she lives in it and was looking forward to it being finished. Linda had a close friend named Tim. Tim and Linda often went to lunch together while she was a senator because Tim lived in the community and was her biggest fan. He agreed with a lot of her views, and they would meet up and discuss politics and Arkansas news. It sounds dreadful to me, but they loved getting together and discussing these things. Their relationship was strictly friendship, as far as I can tell. They never had romantic interest in one another. Tim says that one day Linda goes completely out of character and just starts crying. She tells Tim that she's having a lot of trouble with the judge being her ex Phil. She asked him if he could come to her house and install security cameras. She's terrified that Phil is going to come after her. I have to follow up with the fact that Phil will tell you he was not physically abusive to Linda whatsoever, and he doesn't know why she feels this way. He says, yes, we had a bitter divorce, but I never hurt her during our years of marriage. Linda, though, is scared of Phil, and she's afraid he's going to come to her house while she's there alone. Linda's friend Tim agrees to come to her house and install all these wireless security cameras, 9 in total. But he tells Linda, look, I have a girlfriend. She may not appreciate me going into your house. So he tells her he's going to bring his girlfriend Becky along. Tim and Becky arrive and all three install the security cameras. These cameras covered a lot of area. If you walk through Linda's house, you're on camera. Linda and Becky hit it off. They got along really well and grew close over the next couple of years. So close that Linda made Becky her personal assistant, and she hired Becky to do the books at one of her motels. She was in charge of all the finances. Becky also helped Linda campaign for senator. Some thought it was odd how close Linda was to this couple, like they were 3 best friends, with Tim and Becky being a couple, but whatever, Linda has 2 close friends who are helping her through a dark time. But Linda is doing a little better these days. She has just begun dating a man named Randall Wallace. They've been dating for just a few weeks. Her and Randall go way back. They actually dated 20 years prior, before Linda married Phil. Now she's divorced and dating Randall for the second time, almost like she came full circle. She even told Randall that 20 years ago she picked the wrong one. She should have chosen him instead. Linda and Randall enjoyed going out dancing and being in each other's company. Although done being a public servant in Arkansas, Linda sets her sights higher. She wants to work in Washington, D.C. Specifically, she wants to be a special interest lobbyist. That position would be around a $130,000 salary. In May 2019, she traveled to Washington, D.C. for an interview. Once the interview was over, she made a pit stop. She flew out to Arizona to visit her cousins, and she wanted to go line dancing while she was there. Then she caught another plane back to Arkansas. On Memorial Day, May 27th, Linda returns from her trip. She texted her children that the interview went well and things are looking good. She didn't have a definitive yes or no if she got the job, but she thinks she's going to be hired on. She let her kids know she was back home safe. Talk to you soon. Over the next few days, her daughter Tate sent her mom a message showing her a new pair of shoes, but Linda never responded. She sent her mom multiple messages, but each time Linda didn't respond. So Tate lives a few hours away. She calls her brother Butch and asked him if he could go over to their mom's house and check on things. She's not answering anyone. Butch lives in Pocahontas, so he drives over to his mom's house. He doesn't have a key, so he's not able to get inside, and she's not answering the door. But Linda's truck was parked in the driveway. Everything looks okay here. Tate called her grandfather the next day. This is June 4th. This is Linda's elderly father. He has a key to the house, and she asked her grandfather if he could go inside and see if Mom was there. Maybe she's injured and can't get to the door or something. Her grandpa and Butch head over to Linda's house. Tate is on the phone with them when they got there, and she will stay on the phone while they're there looking around. Her grandfather notices something wrong right off the bat. Linda is always super concerned about safety, but her truck was unlocked. She wouldn't leave her truck unlocked. She locks it religiously. They walk around to the back door and turn the knob, and it was unlocked. Now they know something is wrong. They make their way into the house and it's a complete mess. Remember, Linda's house is getting a renovation. There's sheets, there's carpet ripped up, walls knocked down, everything is under construction. But something that catches their eye is a large brown stain in the middle of the kitchen. The flooring had been pulled up and there's wood underneath, and it's this large stain. Butch immediately knows what this could be. His mom is a heavy coffee drinker and thinks she probably dropped a pot of coffee. They text Tate a video of the stain, and Tate is like, oh geez, this isn't good. But they are trying to convince themselves it's just coffee. Let's just keep looking. They go around the house, they call out for Linda, but she doesn't answer. They also couldn't find her purse or cell phone. To me, this would be a good thing. It means she grabbed them and left the house. I'm not going anywhere without my purse or cell phone either. Maybe she is spending time with her new boyfriend, Randall. They decide she is not in this house anywhere, so let's go. They hung up the phone with Tate and locked up the house. They began walking towards their vehicle when they smelled something horrible, something rancid. They see all this stuff in Linda's driveway, wood and construction materials piled up and stuff like that. So Grandpa motions to Butch to look under that tarp over there, see if there's a dead animal or something. Butch walks over and could have never prepared himself for what he was going to find. As he gets closer, he hears buzzing sounds. He lifted the tarp and out came a swarm of flies. Lying under the tarp was his mother, Linda's body. She was face down with her hands above her head and wrapped in a comforter. Butch recognized the comforter because it was the one he had taken to college. Grandpa begins to come over and Butch has to restrain him. He didn't want him to see his daughter deceased. This was extremely grisly, so trigger warning. Linda had been outside in the Arkansas summer heat for around a week now, which explains why the smell was so bad. She was in advanced stages of decomposition. She didn't look like Linda at all. Butch tells it in a statement played by KAIT 8 News by saying that this was the last sight of his mother. All the flies swarming around, her blonde hair was moving because of all the maggots. Butch says he would never be able to not see that image of his mother burned in his brain. I imagine Butch has some serious PTSD from that. They call Tate back and have to break the news to her. They tell her mom was murdered. Butch calls 911 and explains he came over to check on his mom and found a dead body outside of her home. Send somebody out here now. The Arkansas State Police and Randolph County Sheriff's Department make their way over to Linda's house. A coroner arrives to determine her cause of death, which was ruled a stabbing. Somebody stabbed Linda to death. She was covered in stab wounds. They check out the spot on the middle of the kitchen floor and they determine that it was blood and likely Linda's final resting place. There was also signs that a cleanup had been attempted, including a bottle of bleach that had blood on it. It looks like the killer stabbed her, wrapped her in a comforter, and drug or carried her outside. Then they placed her body on top of construction materials and then covered her with a tarp. According to Randolph County Sheriff Kevin Bell, it was really difficult to identify Linda's body due to decomposition. They can tell this is a female with blonde hair, but some tests had to be ran to ensure it was Linda. One thing they notice as they walk through the house is there are all these mounts for wireless security cameras, but no security cameras anywhere, just the mounts hanging on the wall and in the corners. We'll come back to this shortly. They learned the last day Linda was seen alive was May 28th. It's currently June 4th. The first person they want to talk to is her ex-husband, Phil. Linda was concerned about her safety. She told people she was afraid of Phil, and now she's dead. Even Tim and Becky are telling police she had a messy divorce. Her ex is this judge, and they don't get along. Linda had concerns about her safety. You should probably look to him. Phil ends up getting ruled out as a person of interest. This is a high-profile case because Linda is a former Arkansas senator. Police are going to have so much pressure to solve this ASAP. They should have that same amount of pressure no matter who the victim is, but unfortunately that doesn't always happen. What does end up happening is that a gag order is issued on this murder investigation. No one in law enforcement is allowed to discuss this with anyone. The residents of Arkansas learned Linda was murdered, but they don't know how. A rumor spreads that Linda was shot with a gun, but that's not what happened. She was stabbed. With who Linda was and her former position, the rumor mill is running wild with theories that her murder may have been politically motivated. She had a lot of enemies in the business. What made this worse was the next state over in Oklahoma, just one day after Linda's body was found, another former politician was found dead. Jonathan Nichols was 53 years old and died from a gunshot wound. Many were trying to piece these two murders together and thought they could be related, but after a 1-month investigation, Jonathan's death was ruled a suicide. So yeah, the theories are running rampant. Even Bill and Hillary Clinton were dragged into the rumors. Plus, the fact that Linda had been in D.C. in the days before fueled all of this. Meanwhile, the real killer is smiling, knowing all these people believe Linda's death was part of a political conspiracy. Police still have this gag order, so they can't release any info to the public, so people are gonna speculate. To skip ahead for a moment, at Linda's funeral, there was a heavy police presence because of all these demonstrators with signs, because they believe this is a conspiracy. Even the pastor officiating the service asked if they were going to be safe there. There's all these people picketing while her casket is being lowered into the ground. Police learned Linda had a new boyfriend, so that piques their interest. Let's go talk to Randall. Randall says on May 27th, Linda called him and asked him to come spend the night at her house. He says the next morning they hugged and kissed goodbye, and that was the last time he saw her. Next in line is Linda's close friends, Becky and her boyfriend, Tim. Becky claims that she picked Linda up from the airport on May 27th. On the way home, they called Tim and Linda told him all about her trip to Washington, D.C. Becky says the next day, Linda called her and asked her to pick up some lunch and bring it to her house. Linda has some exciting news for her. So Linda and Becky sit down with their lunch. This is all according to Becky. She says Linda told her Randall spent the night, and she was really excited about it because this was the first time he had spent the night at her house. But she was a little bothered because Linda claims that when she texted Randall yesterday, it took him 4 hours to respond. I mean, he is a 60-something-year-old guy. They're not the greatest texters, but she was concerned that he was with somebody else. Becky says that she told Linda that she had no right to be upset about something like that since she literally just started dating him a couple weeks ago. Linda gets upset with Becky for not being on her side. Becky and Linda call their lunch over and Becky leaves with Linda still upset with her. Becky called her later to try to reconcile, but Linda's like, nah, you offended me, bye. Becky said she didn't hear from her again. Police go back to the security cameras, or now lack of security cameras. They know there's 9 missing cameras, and it's possible that her entire murder could be on one of those cameras. That would solve the case right away. This killer thought they were covering their tracks by removing the cameras, but we know the internet holds pretty much everything forever. The cloud is a magical place where things are stored. If they couldn't find a video of the murder, they may be able to find a video of the person removing the cameras. Each camera had a battery in it. Linda's daughter Tate was able to get into her mom's email. Linda got notifications via email every time one of the cameras was triggered, so she could view from her phone whatever was going on in front of the camera. Sounds super annoying, but it really helped this case. I'll be at work and get a notification that motion was detected on my Ring camera, and I'll look and it's just some friendly bumblebee. So they know something activated these cameras before they were taken down because Linda got all these email notifications. Police get a subpoena for this security company to obtain the videos. It's not as simple as just saying, hey, we need these videos. It's a process. The security company had overnight FedExed the police the thumb drive. It arrived the same day as Linda's service. They finally have the videos. The Randolph County Sheriff's Department gather in a room along with their IT folks. They put the video on a big projector so everyone can see. They brace themselves for whatever they're going to see. Police see Linda and her best friend Becky sitting down having lunch. This matches up with what Becky had told them. We see Becky leave after she pissed Linda off by saying she didn't have a right to be mad that her boyfriend of 2 weeks took too long to answer the phone. Fast forward to 3 hours later, the camera on the garage captures audio from inside the house. You can hear Linda's blood-curdling scream. Dateline ran a story on this, and they actually edited this part out. They didn't want her final scream publicized, and for good reason. Thank God they did that. They also see someone covered in a white sheet make their way into Linda's house. This killer must know Linda has security cameras because they tried to disguise themselves as the world's worst ghost. After the murder, the security camera is capturing from inside of a purse. The killer had taken the cameras down and was putting them inside a bag or purse of some kind. One of the cameras was rolling and pointed out the top opening of the purse, and clear as day, you see the killer standing there with a bloody knife. The killer was Becky O'Donnell. She's finishing up whatever she's doing, and she's standing there brandishing a knife. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the photo of Becky at that moment. This was a joyous moment for the police. They have a name and face to Linda's killer, but they never expected it would be her best friend. You can go to Becky O'Donnell's Facebook page right now, and her profile picture is a photo of her and Linda together smiling. She changed it to a picture of the two of them just 2 weeks after she killed Linda, which is weird as hell, but I see that she's trying to cover her tracks by appearing to be this grieving friend. It's such a betrayal. Why on earth would Becky kill Linda? Police waste no time getting an arrest warrant. They get in their cars and head to wherever Becky is. Becky is currently en route to Linda's funeral. She is placed under arrest outside of the Sutton Free Will Baptist Church where her funeral was being held. Becky is completely shocked, and so is Tim. Becky is taken in, and she claims she is innocent. She said she didn't kill Linda. Police tell her, Becky, it's over. We have you on video. You can stop with this stuff. Becky's lawyers are going to have a real hard time with this one. Good luck trying to plead not guilty. She's literally on video holding a bloody knife. Tim is standing by Becky's side at this time. He believes Becky that she didn't murder Linda. The issue is that there's still a gag order, and they can't exactly tell him we have her on camera holding a bloody knife. Tim has been talking to Becky on the phone daily, telling her he believes her. Well, Becky's attorneys want to meet with Tim. They ask him to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Whatever they tell him, he can't disclose to anyone. They tell him, Tim, Becky confessed. Tim told NBC's Dateline that he was hurt and shocked. He says she had been telling him that she was being framed and all this stuff. He admits that he missed everything. Then to learn there's a video of her plus a confession. There's no doubt Becky killed Linda. With all this evidence against her, she's just going to have to make a plea deal and hope for the best. Arkansas is a death penalty state, so she hopes this plea deal will keep her off a death row. What is the motive here? So Becky had been Linda's personal assistant, driving her places, campaigning for her. Eventually, Linda put her in charge of the books at the motel she owned. Butch told police that Linda had access to her father's account, and money had come up missing from it. The checks that were written were viewed, and they had Linda's signature on them, but it wasn't Linda's handwriting. Becky played this off about the checks. She said sometimes Linda would tell her to just sign my name, I'm busy. Also, money had come up missing from the hotel. All in all, Linda's missing around $50,000. Some of that was her father's money, too. It's believed that Linda picked up on this and confronted Becky about it, and that's why Becky killed her. Some other things come out about Becky, such as her ex-husband, Jeffrey O'Donnell, contacted police and said that in 2007, a friend came to him and said Becky offered him $50,000 to kill him. Becky said that she was just drunk and joking around, and she wasn't charged with anything in this situation. According to reporting by Arkansas's NIA report, a woman in Pocahontas named Melissa Jones went to a class reunion in 2014. She ran into her friend Shelley and Shelley's sister Becky O'Donnell. Shelley and Melissa were good friends. They got to talking, and Melissa brought up that she owned and operated a consignment shop. Becky was currently looking for a job. Melissa tells her she can come work for her as a cashier. Becky takes the job, but was soon caught stealing a bunch of designer jeans. Melissa called the police, but after talking with the officer and Becky asking her not to press charges because she didn't want this to affect her kids, Melissa said she would let it go, but get your stuff because you're not working here anymore. Melissa received a message from Shelley. I'll read it now. This is Becky's sister Shelley to the consignment store owner Melissa. I wish you would have pressed charges against my sister. In the last 6 months, I have found out that she has stolen from so many people and only one person went after her. She stole all my mom's retirement money, about $160,000. She ended with, she has stolen from ex-boyfriends, and she also opened up credit cards in her kids' names and maxed them out and never paid the bills, ruining their credit. She is a piece of shit. I haven't spoken to her in over a year. Something else that came out is that while Becky was awaiting trial, a jailhouse informant came forward and said that Becky offered inmates money to have someone take out Linda's ex-husband, Phil. She claimed Becky wanted Phil killed and she wanted to make it look like a suicide. Becky even wrote the suicide letter to leave with the body. This inmate went to guards with this info. The reason Becky wanted Phil to, air quotes, commit suicide was so that the blame would be on him. Everyone would think he was responsible for Linda's murder. Becky pleaded no contest to 2 counts of criminal solicitation. I want to go back for a moment and talk about Becky's Facebook profile picture I mentioned earlier. 2 weeks after Linda's murder, Becky changed her profile picture to one of her and Linda together. The comments are open and anyone in the public can still comment on it. Just skimming through them, I saw everything I just talked about, such as the gag order causing rumors. Half the comments are people saying they don't believe she did this and it was someone else, etc. They don't know at this point that police have her on video. They won't know this important piece of info until Becky's trial. I also saw people talking about the Clintons who are from Arkansas and all this conspiracy stuff about them. When there's a gag order in cases, the rumors will go crazy. Becky O'Donnell accepted a plea deal. She pled guilty to first-degree murder. She was sentenced to 50 years in prison, making her 99 years old when she's released. The murder of Linda Collins was a violation of trust and friendship. The killer was someone from her inside circle, someone she cared about, someone she trusted. I feel like Becky saw Linda was vulnerable. She lost the election. She's in the middle of a divorce. Becky took advantage of that and began stealing money, hoping that Linda wouldn't notice. It's hard to imagine Linda's final moments. Here she sees this person who was supposed to be her best friend come at her with a knife, and then she's placed outside like a piece of trash. Some people just don't have a conscience. Whether you agreed with Linda's views or not, she never pretended to be anything that she wasn't, and she definitely left a mark on Arkansas politics. She is remembered fondly by friends and family. Rest in peace to Linda Collins. That's it for this week, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care, and much love to you all.